It is the first Tuesday of the month, which means that I answer questions from you guys. If you want to ask me questions for next month's Q&A video, subscribe because I will often prompt for questions in the community tab, or you can add me on Facebook or Twitter. Let's get started. How did you know that this job was the job you want? Well, my dad was a translator, so just watching him and knowing, hey, that's a thing I can do. And also just becoming a huge anime fan as a teenager. And now I know that translating freelance is the job I want to do, not so much specifically because it is translating, but because it is freelance work. I know that I'm an independent person, I'm introverted, I'm self-driven, I have a lot of different passions. Being a freelancer is just kind of in my blood. How do you stay motivated in your job and what are the challenges? Well, that's a big question. How do I stay motivated? There's a lot of different ways I stay motivated. It really depends on the reason why I am not motivated at the moment. So if I'm not motivated because I'm very tired, like because I didn't sleep well or eat well or something, what keeps me motivated there is I will work for very, very short periods, and like I'll set a very, very short, easily attainable goal for myself, and then I will give myself a reward, and that reward is also very short. So it's like I will translate 50 lines of dialogue, and then I will reward myself by listening to one like 4-minute song or something like that, and then straight back to work. If I reward myself by, oh, then I can watch a YouTube video, I might wind up watching a 20-minute video like this one, and then fall down the rabbit hole. So a very strict, short, easily attainable goal followed by a time-sensitive reward if I am tired. If I'm lacking motivation because I'm just like in a bad mood or something, there are a couple videos that are my go-to videos, and one of them is the You on Kazoo kid. He was a meme a couple years ago, and someone did a trap remix of that, and every time, it's like Pavlovian response. Every time I watch that video, I'm really pumped and ready to get back to work after I watch that video. So find whatever your version of that is. And then if I'm lacking motivation because my brain is just so busy with like other ideas and like other things that I would rather be doing, I found a good way to keep myself disciplined and on task is if I alternate my spurts of translating with doing something very disciplined, like working out or doing a chore or something like that, and like writing out a very, very detailed list, like right down to like my snack breaks and my tea breaks and my lunch breaks, and just having everything itemized and lined out for me so that it's a lot easier to stay on task. And the challenges of the job, aside from occasionally, linguistic challenges of, oh no, how do I go about translating this interesting phrase we don't really have in English? The challenges are more along the lines of just staying focused when there's so many other interesting things that I could be doing, especially if it's not a very fun or interesting game or anime that I'm translating. Do you have any friends that speak Japanese, native or not native speakers? I have one native speaker friend who speaks Japanese, and she lives in Japan. Last time I saw her in person was like 15 years ago, and I'm well overdue to see her again. She has an open invitation to visit me. I have an open invitation to visit her, but life, kids, and my own fear of flying and lack of funds to fly have gotten in the way of that. Other than her, I don't have any friends that speak Japanese. Do you value your job? Yes. Have you ever considered being a diplomat or something similar, like working for the Department of State of the United Nations? No. How is your social life? Do you have any friends? Yeah, actually, for those of you who started following me within the last few months, you may not know I'm originally from California, and I recently, like 8 months ago, moved to Washington State. So I don't have any friends. That sounded really bad. I don't have any like close friends close by anymore, except my boyfriend, if you count him, because we live together, so him. But yeah, I have a lot of friends in California, and I mean, we still keep in touch, and I mean, we'll probably be on a schedule of seeing each other like once a year or so. And I used to have a pretty heavy social life back in California. I was involved in comedy sports, a sketch group, choir, and Pathfinder role-playing group, and all of those groups met like once a week or like every other week at least or something. And I actually felt like I was a little a little drained. Like, I'm introverted. I don't like big groups of people. But I was kind of torn because I really genuinely enjoyed all of those activities and I really genuinely enjoyed all those people. But yeah, I felt like I had way too many friends and I was spreading myself quite thin. I'd rather have 5 like really close friendships than like 25, less close friendships. Yeah, my social life here in Washington so far is basically going to comedy sports practice once a week or so, and then I'm doing my first performance this weekend, and I'm going to be performing somewhat regularly over there, probably once or twice a month moving forward. And Comedy Sports is a great organization. One of the reasons why we decided to move close to Seattle. It was either going to be Portland or Seattle, but one of the reasons why we decided to be close to either of those major cities is because both of those major cities have a Comedy Sports, and it's just, they're almost like a family. They're like an extended family, and there's Comedy Sports all over the country. And I just know that wherever I go, if there's a Comedy Sports, I will instantly have an extended family, and I'll instantly be connected with a bunch of like-minded, cool, nice, smart people that I can be friends with. So yeah, I mean, it takes me a while, but in a few months, I'll probably be more friendly with those folks. And the second half of that question was, don't you miss your coworkers? So I don't really know what it's like to have coworkers. Aside from 3 years of my adult life where I worked in the costume shop at Sac State, I've never really had coworkers because I've always just freelanced in some way or another. Ooh, neck crack. But I did enjoy my coworkers at the costume shop. And I think it's because, aside from moments when we were using the sewing machines, they were industrial machines, so they were really noisy. But aside from when we were using those, there's lots of stuff you do in a costume shop that's not using a machine. There's cutting and draping and ironing and a lot of hand stitching and inventory. So whenever that stuff was happening, yeah, we listened to Harry Potter audiobooks and chat. There's a phrase called stitch and bitch. Yeah, I do miss them a little bit, especially my boss, rest in peace. But ultimately, I think I prefer working by myself. How can I get noticed by agencies? I sent my resume out to a lot of places, even pros. Is it best for me to contact them first? So there's a lot to unpack in that question. So how do I get noticed by agencies? Number one, these things take time. So, I don't know how long you've been attempting to contact agencies or get noticed by them, but I mean, it took me a good 2 or so years after I first started doing prose until I finally got connected with that magical agency that gives me the bulk of my work. So, I mean, if you've only been at this for a few days or a few weeks or even a few months, you might just need to be patient and wait. It's like fishing. You're sitting there all day and sometimes you don't get anything. The other thing is that you should only really reach out to agencies if they say that they are hiring or looking for people. And the same goes for soliciting yourself out to other various random companies and the like. It's generally not a good idea to just shove your resume at people and tell them, hey, give me a job, unless they say on their website that they are hiring. Otherwise, you're annoying and disrespectful, and they might even hold that against you and put your resume in a do not hire folder. I've heard of this. So yeah, only reach out to agencies or companies if they say on their site that they are hiring. Another proactive way though that you can look for work instead of just hover on Prose and Translators Cafe and Upwork and all those other websites. What you can do, and I've mentioned this before, but YouTube actually is a pretty decent source. Find some channels that are relatively popular, so they probably have some money, and see if they might want their videos subtitled to reach a larger international audience. I mean, let's say you're a Spanish to English translator and there's this Spanish-only channel about how to make Mexican food, and it has 100,000 subscribers. Maybe they really would like to reach an English-speaking audience. I would like to watch that channel. I would like to learn about authentic Mexican food from an authentic Mexican cooking channel, and you could, subtitle their videos and get work that way. That's one source. But, along those lines, if you just think about the kinds of translations that you can do and that you want to do, if you would be a really good travel, translator, look at travel websites, look at travel agencies and see if they are hiring. Again, see if they're hiring, see if there's a need for translation services to begin with. Because if you just send out your resume without them asking and say, hey, hire me, they're going to be probably annoyed. How did you learn Japanese before going to Japan? I didn't. I learned a little bit of Japanese before going to Japan. I studied for 2 years in high school, and I also just watched a bunch of anime and listened to a bunch of anime songs and read a bunch of manga. Reading the manga, I didn't really understand most of it. I just plowed through it, and I watched a lot of raw unsubtitled anime. I didn't understand most of it, but I just watched it anyway. That's kind of what you have to do at the start. Okay, so this segues into the next question. How did you learn Japanese and how long did it take you to become fluent? I have a video about that. I will put a card up there. But how I learned, yeah, I mentioned it a little earlier, 2 years of high school Japanese and a year studying abroad in Japan. And then after that, I mean, by the time I got back home from Japan, I was more or less fluent. But after that, I also took about 5 semesters of college Japanese. And then ever since then, I've also just been translating a bunch, and the act of translating is a way of learning Japanese as well. As for how long it takes to become fluent, it's different for everybody. Of course, for me personally, it took me about, the 2 years of high school Japanese were a good groundwork, a good foundation for that. But as far as when the total immersion started in Japan, it took me about probably 5 months or so, 5-6 months to become fluent. But yeah, it depends on what your definition of fluent is. I mean, I still can't carry on a conversation about the geopolitical situation in Syria, for example. So how's your German these days? Sehr schlecht. What's your PayPal? I'd like to make a donation in the future. Well, my PayPal is sarahktranslate@yahoo.com. And I also have a Patreon now, so you can support me on Patreon. I have a link in the video description below. What do you look for when buying a laptop for translation work? Well, this is actually my first laptop that I have ever owned. I was always a desktop person before, but I discovered that since I always like to have my limbs elevated while I work, that reclining on a couch or a bed with a laptop was the best situation for me. So I switched to a laptop. Yeah, if you're not like me, and if you don't have poor circulation and you can sit up at a desk like a normal person, I actually would recommend a desktop. They tend to be cheaper, and it's easier to repair bits of it and soup them up the way you want them. As far as laptops go, though, I mean, it depends on what kind of translation you're going to be doing. A lot of people seem to get the impression, and this comes up in a later question in this video too, but a lot of people seem to have the impression that translating requires a lot of fancy equipment and programs. It doesn't. So you don't necessarily need a special computer or anything, just one that works well for you. What do you think of linguistics? Would learning linguistics help in translation? Yes, learning linguistics would help in translation. Linguistics is the study of language, how languages work, and you can kind of glean a lot of the information yourself already just by learning multiple languages. You're not necessarily going to get it if you learn one other language, but if you learn 2 additional languages to your first language, you're already going to glean some of the stuff that you're going to learn in proper linguistics courses. But yeah, linguistics are definitely useful for translators. I myself have not taken any linguistics courses, but I had a friend who majored in it and, heard a lot about the coursework. I am JLPT N3. Please tell me some websites where I can apply for jobs. So JLPT N3 is not usually considered a high enough level to translate. It's usually N2 or N1 are the requirements. So I would actually recommend that you do N2 first before. You can always practice translating on your own. And I'd say, translating for YouTube channels or blogs or something would probably be fine for a level N3. But I hear there's a big difference between N3 and N2. I heard N2 is a lot higher level than N3 comparatively. So yeah, do N2 first. Not strictly related, but do you like Haruki Murakami? I have never read any of the books, so don't know. What programs do you use? Okay, so yeah, this goes back to the whole, people seem to think that translators need special equipment and such. I use basically Excel and MemoQ. Those are pretty much the only 2 formats that my files come in to translate. So those are the only programs I use.
Oh, everyone makes mistakes, so yes they do. Your sister and your brother and your dad and mother too.
MemoQ is a CAT tool, so it's computer assisted translating. So there are some features in that are pretty cool. And Excel is just kind of a word processing program that has a lot of programming in it. And yeah, my managers will sometimes configure them in such a way that it's weird. And I make mistakes sometimes because of the programming in there, and I have to be careful. And I myself cannot program in Excel. So yeah, but that's it, just Excel and MemoQ. And if I need to look up words that I don't know, I use Japanese Google. How much pressure do you feel to grow your views and subs? And are you currently looking into marketing strategies to achieve your goals? I don't feel pressure so much to grow my views and subs. Well, and here's another thing. Views and subs they're the metrics that most people kind of tend to look at with YouTube, but they're actually less important than watch time. The algorithm currently favors watch time a lot. So for example, if you're still watching this video right now, thank you so very much. You are helping me with the algorithm. The heart of the question is, do I feel pressure to like keep growing or whatever? Not exactly. I mean, if I were working for a different channel or something, then I would feel pressure, I guess, to like deliver on a promise, but I'm just doing this for me and for you guys. So I mean, the only pressure I feel exactly is it's not pressure so much as excitement. Like, ooh, if I continue to get, you know, higher watch time and more people watching the videos, then I can make more money and I can build a bigger community and we can all be one big happy family. Because as we established earlier, I don't have any friends. As for marketing strategies, yeah, not marketing in the traditional sense. There's so much to learn about like social media. It's such a new medium. And a lot of us are just kind of figuring it out as we go along, and things keep changing all the time. So really my marketing strategy at the moment is just to try to keep making better content with each video that I make. I don't know if you guys can notice, but I'm using studio lights and a microphone right now. Any way that I can make the videos better so that more people will want to watch them, that's mostly what I'm focusing on right now. And on that note, thank all of you who are here for being here. Again, if you want to ask questions for next month's Q&A video, subscribe if you haven't already, because I will prompt in the community tab in about 3 weeks from now, and add me on Facebook or Twitter because I prompt there as well about a week before it's time to make the video. I also have been conducting a lot of polls in the community tab because I want to learn more about you guys. And now that I have, you know, lights and an actual microphone, there are so many new video ideas I have that I can't wait to unveil on this channel in the coming weeks and months. So until next time, bye! Oh, hi! Thanks for watching that video. If you want to support me for free, like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. You can also add me on the Facebook or the Twitter. Or you can head over to my Etsy shop where I have Sailor Moon, Ai no Minako, and all sorts of other amigurumi for sale. If you're feeling even more generous, I have a Patreon now. For just $1 or $2 a month, you can get special perks like your name in the credits, or a secret monthly video. Or, you know, you could just binge watch all my videos to the end to trick the almighty algorithm into thinking that I'm popular. Do it for the kitties! Bye!